Tony Miano here with Cross Encounters Radio. I was going through the online edition of the Daily News today, one of our local papers, and came across this article. The headline reads, Passing driver in North Hollywood comes to rescue of girl ready to jump from 170 freeway overpass. Again, this is an online article. It was posted today by Dana Bartholomew, a staff writer for the Daily News, and I'd like to share the article with you. Passing driver comes to the rescue of girl ready to jump from freeway overpass. At first, Jay Schaefer saw a bicycle parked on a Hollywood freeway overpass, then a 16-year-old girl perched on an outside ledge, then the rush of Friday afternoon traffic below. The plumber whipped a U-turn, leaped from his truck, and held onto the girl for dear life. It was definitely not the norm, said Schaefer, 42, of Sun Valley. I asked her if she was okay. She said no, she wanted to die. Then I said, let me help you. I'll do anything to help you. The plumber for Drain Router Plumbing of Canoga Park was the first Good Samaritan to help prevent a suicide at Whitsett Avenue and the 170 freeway in North Hollywood. What followed was a highly coordinated rescue by other motorists, Los Angeles police, Los Angeles firefighters, and the California Highway Patrol. But if it wasn't for the fast response of the father of 4 daughters, officials say, the teen might have jumped to her death. This man is by every definition of the word a hero, said Brian Humphrey, a spokesman for the Los Angeles Fire Department, and we don't use that term lightly. It was at 2:40 p.m. that local agencies received a 911 call about a young girl preparing to jump from the bridge. When Los Angeles police arrived, they say they saw Schaefer and other motorists clasping the teen from the other side of an overpass railing. The North Hollywood Division officers also wrapped their arms around the blue-jacketed girl. And when the California Highway Patrol closed all southbound lanes for 40 minutes, its officers saw the girl poised high above the slab. Now, I'm going to post the link to this article in the description of this video. The picture, 2 pictures primarily, one of the girl actually standing on the ledge of the overpass with hands coming through this wrought iron fencing, holding onto her legs, holding onto her torso, just hanging onto her to keep her from jumping. And then the other picture shows a traffic break by California Highway Patrol, and literally 4 or 5 lanes of California freeway at mid-afternoon rush hour California freeway cars just piled up. I mean, it was a busy time. Not only, if she had jumped, not only would she have died, but the ramifications for those on the freeway. There could have been several people who lost their lives today. About 24 Los Angeles firefighters arrived, parked an apparatus beneath the Whitsett overpass, then extended a ladder over the stricken girl. A firefighter then mounted the ladder and hoisted the girl over the rail to safety from the freeway precipice. She was then taken to a nearby hospital, police said. There was a citizen that had made contact holding on to the teenage girl standing on the bridge outside the safety tines, said Police Sergeant Peter Gillies of North Hollywood Division. Officers arrived to take over. The fire department lifted her up. All those things came to bear to pluck the young lady off the overpass. It was a very good coordinated effort, Gillies said. For Schaefer, whose daughters ranged from 20 months to 16 years, it was the specter of a ruined New Year's for the teen, the unborn child, she was pregnant, and his family. She told him she was 16 pregnant with nowhere to live. Nobody loves me, she told him. Look, you can do this, he recalls shooting back. I have a wife, a family. You'll destroy us too. When reached by the Daily News, he said he was still reeling from the event. I don't know what to say about it all, Schaefer said. I hope she's all right, and I'd like to see her pull through. What a remarkable story of heroism and love, really, that Mr. Schaefer, this 42-year-old plumber, minding his own business, driving on Whitsett Avenue in North Hollywood, which is in the San Fernando Valley, sees a bicycle, sees the girl on the opposite side of this safety wrought iron fencing, and it's probably a good 8-10 feet tall by looking at the picture. Makes a U-turn there on Whitsett, stops, gets out, and hangs on to her for dear life. Now, this is Southern California. There are cars on the street all the time. I have to wonder how many people drove by as this started to play out and simply said, I wonder if she's going to jump. Or, wow, I hope she doesn't jump. And didn't stop, didn't do anything. Either they couldn't be inconvenienced, or they didn't want any trouble, or whatever the case may be. There had to be motorists before Mr. Schaefer who drove by, at the very least, seeing this girl climb the fence and did nothing. It was interesting that once Mr. Schaefer decided to make that decision to do something, to get out of his truck, to run over there, to talk to her, to hold on to her, to keep her from jumping to the freeway below. It's interesting that that's when other motorists decided to stop along with Schaefer and to hold on to her as well. And I cannot help but to see several evangelism analogies in this story. Many Christians, most Christians, if you were to ask them, they likely have not told anybody about Jesus. They've likely not sacrificed anything or risked anything to look somebody in the eye, to tell them about the law of God, and that the wrath of God abides on them because of their sin, and that the reality of God's judgment and punishment and eternity in hell, and then to share the good news of God's amazing grace through the gospel of Jesus Christ. Most Christians have likely not done that, not said that to anybody in a year's time. Many Christians, and I speak to many of them, many Christians, if they were honest, would say they've never shared the gospel with anybody, never opened their mouth to proclaim the law of God and the gospel of Jesus Christ to someone who is lost in their sin and bound for hell. Most Christians who say that they love Jesus and love lost people simply walk by lost people every day without even giving a thought to maybe stopping to engage them in conversation, or even less intimidating, handing someone a gospel tract. The idea of standing on a box or a bench for most Christians to herald the gospel in the open air is just beyond the pale for most Christians. And I have to wonder, as Schaefer stops, before Schaefer stops to help this young girl, I have to wonder how many professing Christians drove by and saw that girl scale the fence, or saw her pull up on her bicycle, stop and look at the freeway below, and had no thought whatsoever to stop and talk to her, or to stop and try to help, but only said in their heart and their mind, I hope she doesn't jump. I hope she's okay. My friends, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, if you claim to be a Christian, but you refuse to share the gospel with unsaved people, you are no different than the indifferent motorist who might have driven by and seen this girl poised to commit suicide. You are no different. You show as much depraved indifference for the lost as any motorist who drove by as that girl was preparing to commit suicide and did nothing showed depraved indifference for her life. There are Schaefers out there, though. There are men and women, brothers and sisters in Christ, who are out there, who are willing to risk everything to make Christ known to lost people. Understanding that every lost soul is like a person standing atop a freeway overpass, preparing to die. One of the unique differences is that most people in the world have no idea that they are about to die. They have no idea that at any moment they could stand before God and face his judgment. But as a Christian, you know. As a Christian, you know. What if you were driving by on Whitsett Avenue in North Hollywood, in the San Fernando Valley of the city of Los Angeles? What if you were driving by and you saw the young girl standing on the opposite side of the wrought iron safety fence on that freeway overpass? Would you have stopped? Would you have stopped to try to stop her from committing suicide? I hope your immediate answer is yes. But would you be as quick to answer the question, what if you see a lost person standing in front of you at line in the grocery store? Would you stop? Would you take a moment? Would you allow your milk to get a little warm to share the law and the gospel with that person? Are you hesitating? What if I asked you if you'd be willing to hand the cashier, as you're handing her your debit card, if you would hand the cashier a gospel tract? Are you hesitating? Is your answer no? What about the strangers you meet throughout the day? What about your coworkers? What about the students you sit next to in class at school? Well, what about your unsaved family members who may be sitting across from you at the dining room table? What about your relatives who maybe you see once or twice a year at Christmas and Thanksgiving? Will you not open your mouth? Have you not opened your mouth to share the gospel with them? And do you still say that you love them and you care about them? You love them and care about them about as much as someone who drove by that girl about to commit suicide and did nothing, loved and cared about that little girl. I know this is hard truth, and you may not like this, but I'm speaking this in love because I want you, as a Christian, if you're not sharing the gospel with people, I want you to stop sinning against God in this way. And I want you to love God and love people more than you love yourself. And love others enough that you are willing to set aside, swallow your fears, so that you can bring to them the only message that will save their lives, the gospel of Jesus Christ. If you are a follower of Jesus Christ and you do share the gospel with lost people, whether it's open air preaching or distributing tracts or engaging people in one-to-one conversation. I have a dear friend of mine who, because of physical limitations, has to spend a great deal of time at home, but he doesn't waste that time. He is sharing the gospel with people online. If you are a Christian who is sharing the gospel with lost people, regardless of the context, thank you. Thank you for doing that. But maybe you know some Christians who aren't sharing the gospel. Maybe this video and this analogy based on this real life story of heroism, maybe this video would be something the Lord would use to encourage them to step outside of their comfort zone, to stop sinning against God by not sharing the gospel, and to love God and to love others more than they love themselves as they go out on a rescue mission to save souls for the glory of Christ. Maybe your pastor needs to see this. Maybe your elder need to see this. Maybe the evangelism leader in your church needs to see this. If you share the link to this video with them, please do so with love and honor and respect and care for them. Don't poke them in the eye with this video, but ask them to listen. Ask them to consider the content, and ask them to consider what they personally are doing to reach the lost with the gospel, what your church is doing to reach the lost with the gospel, and how maybe they can take steps to go out and do the most loving thing any Christian can ever do for another human being, and that's proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ. If you would like help, if you're thinking, well, I want to do this, but I'm scared, I feel ill-equipped, my church is not teaching me how to do this right now, just email me at the email address in the description area for this video, and I will do whatever I can to help you. I will point you to resources. I'll point you to good gospel tracts. I'll answer your questions. I'll do whatever I can to help you. So please go out and share the gospel with someone. Maybe even today, turn off your computer, grab a couple of gospel tracts, go out and hand them to somebody. Go engage somebody in conversation. Go out and preach the gospel on the streets or support those who do. But do something to reach the lost with the gospel, and do it today. This is Tony Miano with Cross Encounters Radio. Have a blessed day.